Hello and welcome to the Stockyard Industrial Lead. I'm Eric Miller, and today it's time for another operations video since it's been 2 weeks, and specifically we're going to be talking about cabooses, and I'm going to show you how I use the caboose on my local job today. So just a few notes about cabooses. They're pretty popular, I think, in model railroading for the most part. They kind of deal a lot with some nostalgia and the romance with the railroads. The caboose, kind of like locomotives, they're the bookend. You got the front of the train with the locomotive, usually the back of the train with the caboose, right? Well, when you're doing kind of modern era model railroading, basically if your era is anywhere after the 1980s, the cabooses are not around as much anymore. But one of the advantages of modeling kind of a short line railroad, or modeling those locals, is that you can still use a caboose. And so my era is kind of the mid 90s or so, and so obviously the mainline trains don't usually run with cabooses, but I still use them on my local, and I want to show you the main reason why I use them on my local. But first, real quick, I'll show you my caboose roster. And so what you see in front of you is the South Omaha terminal caboose, which is kind of a fantasy caboose that I repainted. This is supposed to be an original Rock Island bay window caboose that they would have bought in the late 70s. They actually the Union Pacific bought them, and they leased them from the Union Pacific, and then they returned to the Union Pacific after that final bankruptcy and liquidation in 1980. My prototype Railcar America and Brandon Railroad in South Omaha actually did get a small fleet of these bay window cabooses from the Union Pacific in the early 1980s. And so this other one that I have, which is another model pretty similar to it, this is a Walthers model, which is about the closest I could find. It's not 100% prototypical, but it's pretty close to the Rock Island's style bay window caboose that they had. This is based on the real cabooses that Railcar America had. They didn't have the logo, and they didn't have lettering. They were just painted this kind of primer gray. So I touched it up a little bit, and then I made this one to match the South Omaha terminal locomotive. So yeah, just a little background on that, and some interesting history about that Railcar America in South Omaha. The other caboose that I have is for my Union Pacific transfer job, and this is a Missouri Pacific basically transfer caboose. And so it's former Missouri Pacific. This is a Blueford Chops, which is a really nice caboose. Blueford Chops usually makes things in N scale. This is one of their few HO offerings. I really wish they would do the bay windows that they do in N scale in HO, because then I'd have a prototypical ex-Rock Island caboose for that. But like I said, the Walthers is close enough. And this was actually weathered by my friend Joe Atkinson, originally lettered for his Iowa Interstate, and then bought it from him. So that's what I use for the Union Pacific transfer. This kind of caboose was fairly common in the Omaha area. I've seen it when rail fanning there. Used on the Union Pacific locals. So a lot of times in modern era, caboose is used as what's called a shoving platform, or kind of a transfer caboose, and it's basically a way for the crew to have a place to hang out and occupy some space at the other end of the train if there's long shoves or pushes by the railroad and a local. And so that's what we've got going on here for my local, that my short line South Omaha terminal does. Basically, from this point on, we're at Gemini Siding in Bellevue, and to serve the rest of the industries, the train has to shove these cars. So I've got my local here. Zoom out a little bit for you. And so as you can see, I've got the locomotive now on the other end of the train, and we're ready to shove and start switching some industries. And so on this track behind me, I've got some loads that are going to the ready mix plant, and I've put those off. So one of the rules that I now have for operations here on the Stockyard Industrial Lead is with my new customer at the very end of the line, Dpc Industries, which gets tank cars of chlorine. There has to be a spacer car in between the locomotive and the chlorine car. So that's what we've got here. We've got a loaded center beam flat car that's going to go to Payless Cacheways. And when the locomotive was on the other side of the train, we had these cement cars going to ready mix. and then we put them off here on the siding, and then got the caboose on the other end of the train. So now we're ready to start shoving. So basically what we have is the engineer is in. I always try to, just to kind of back up a little bit, I always try to envision where the crew is when I'm switching, so I kind of know where the people are, and when I'm stopping and doing work, I can kind of think of the time it would take for, you know, a crew member to move from one end of the train to the other. So the engineer is in the locomotive, the conductor now is in the caboose, riding and ready to go. So it gives the signal to the engineer to proceed. And let's see, I'm using my proto throttle here to operate, and I currently have it set for the Alco C415. So I'm going to go through and set it for 1872 instead, and then there we go. All right, now we're ready to start moving. And make sure the brake is off. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to shove through these industries, the industrial park here in Bellevue, and we're just going to head straight for Dpc Industries there at the end of the line. And we have one crossing to reverse shove through, so we've got our conductor flagging the crossing here, and now we can go ahead. Okay, we'll let our conductor remove the flag and walk back up to the caboose, and then we'll continue on to Dpc Industries. So here we are at Dpc Industries, and our work here is pretty simple. We just have to drop off these two loaded tank cars here, pick up these two empties. So what we're going to do is we got these cars cut off here and the caboose, and we're going to pull back and grab these empties, put it in the train, and then drop the loadeds, and then head back. So this kind of gives you an idea of why a caboose is needed for this local run. It's a bit of a shove, and you can't really, I mean, it's not a really good idea to have a crew person riding the front of the freight car for that long. So that's essentially why we have the caboose here, so that it's a safe place for the conductor to ride while you're shoving the train forward and have clear visibility of the track ahead. So that's the main reason. When we're switching South Omaha, the area closer to the yard, I don't require a caboose. I just tell my crews you can either use the caboose or you can use one of my flashing rear end devices that we snap onto the coupler. So it's kind of their call on that. But for this shove all the way from Gemini Siding through Bellevue and out to Dpc Industries here by Papio Creek, we definitely need the caboose. So this gives you an idea of why I use it on my layout, and I'd certainly be interested if anyone else is using cabooses, especially in your modern operations, what you use it for, what your operating rules state for that. So while we're here, let's go ahead and switch out this Industry real quick. And we've already told the Industry foreman that we're ready to come in and switch. And so they've removed the blue flag and they're ready for us. And obviously for this Industry, I haven't done any work with the structure or the scenery yet, so get to that eventually. Not sure if it'll happen by the end of the year, but hopefully it's one of the things I'd like to get to in the near future. So one of the industries that I want to work on next, but I've got some other things going on, so we'll see when it happens. There we go. Make sure get those hoses connected. And we'll give them a little stretch here. Alright, that looks good. Go ahead and take them away. Another reason the caboose is helpful, just kind of an ancillary reason, is that it's a nice place for the crew to hang out when they're all the way down here in Bellevue and, you know, quite a ways away from the yard office. So, you know, if they need to take a lunch break, or if there's if they have to wait for an Industry to be ready to switch, something like that, they've got a place that they can hang out, so they can grab some grub at a nearby place and eat it there, or if they've packed their own lunch. Yeah, gives them a nice little spot to also to not just to take a break, but to do some work as well. Alright, so now we're going to come up and grab these two loaded cars to switch into the Industry. Alright, uncouple the caboose and let it stay there. Make sure our hoses are set. Give it a little stretch there, everything looks good. Alright. And we'll start slowing it down. Got a little bit of momentum built into this locomotive, not too much. Try not to get it too carried away, especially if you have a visiting crew that may not be used to momentum. Alright, back. Okay, that looks good. Alright. All we need to do is come back and grab our caboose and get back out of here. I really enjoy switching this industry on this bridge. It is a lot of fun. Okay, we'll tell the industrial foreman we're done, put the blue flag back, and now we can switch the rest of the industries in Bellevue. So yeah, that's basically what it's like. I wanted to show you this caboose, and I won't show you the rest of the Bellevue switching at this point. I think I've done so in previous videos, but just wanted to show you again what it's like with bringing the caboose all the way down here to the end of the line and why it's useful for that, and that's why I use it on my layout. So but yeah, just wanted to talk about that operation since I've never brought it up before. So thanks for watching. I'll be back at you next week with another new video, probably on the decaling the SPSF Super 7 locomotive, and then I'll do some more operations afterwards. So as usual, thank you for watching this video, and feel free to comment below with any questions you might have and anything else you want to see in the future. So thanks again, and I'll see you next time.